Just find something I want to perfect and just perfect it to the best of my abilities, and that's all I really focus on, and just being there, just being a leader, being a great teammate, doing what I need to do whenever it is. So I'm just thankful for an opportunity. Things could have been a lot worse, but I'm here smiling in front of you all at this facility right now.
If Shedeur just makes all the right decisions and lets Jerry Jeudy go crazy and lets Njoku go crazy, Harold Fannin, Joe Flacco, a legendary quarterback who's taken up for Shedeur. If the NFL draft and now the rookie mini camps will tell us anything, is that Shedeur Sanders is about to dominate every single headline for the next 3 months in the NFL. Yeah, I know a lot of y'all might be pretty tired of it, but it's undoubted. Pat McAfee has had multiple shows about it. So we're going to listen to him and Adam Schefter talk about some things. We're going to listen to some Cleveland news, Cleveland radio hosts that are surprised by Shedeur, being so good at football, which again, we, been trying to tell y'all. And then we're going to also go down a nice long list of some skeptics and some haters and kind of have that conversation, because I don't think it's ever going to stop. But what's never going to stop is the conversation around Shedeur. So let's start right here with, a few people in the Cleveland scene, in the Cleveland radio area, that's just kind of taken aback the fact that, hey, man, maybe this dude can actually spin the ball.
I thought that he was an easy, natural thrower, despite not having higher level arm strength. But it wasn't an issue in the sense that he couldn't make throws. Although it's funny, I've always believed arm strength isn't an issue until it is an issue. It's like insurance. It's never an issue until it is an issue.
It's a great line.
And just talk to Joe Flacco about that. I've had this conversation with Joe because, he's a South Jersey guy, so I spent time with Joe, and I know him, and he's a terrific guy.
Yes, he
and
is.
Arm strength isn't what people think it is. Arm strength isn't throwing the ball 80 yards. Arm strength is driving a deep dig between defenders. That's arm strength in the NFL.
Yep.
And a guy like Flacco can do that, in his sleep. But anyway, Sanders, to me, he's a pocket quarterback. He's kind of a little bit of a pure thrower. He's kind of an over-the-top thrower, which you also don't see very much these days. And I would say that, he has kind of a vision and feel for the game, but he has to work behind a strong pass-protecting O-line. He's got to have quality receivers, and he has to have a well-schemed passing game that presents defined reads. Now, people could say, well, every quarterback needs that. And in theory, of course. I mean, you still want to give Josh Allen that. You still want to give Lamar Jackson that. You still want to give Mahomes that. But the point is, if they don't have that, they can still elevate your offense. The quarterbacks like Sanders, let's say like a Kirk Cousins, okay? Those guys can't elevate your offense if they don't have those things. So that's what I mean when I say they need a lot of things. Doesn't mean they can't function in the league. I mean, obviously, and again, I'm not comparing Sanders or Gabriel to Tom Brady or Drew Brees, but we've seen quarterbacks that are super high level, mastering every element of pocket play. That's what you sort of have to become. Now, not everybody becomes Brees or Brady. But, when I watched Sanders, I said to myself, you know what? He's a lowercase C.J. Stroud. He's not as good, but it's that style of quarterback.
Lowercase CJ Stroud. Obviously, I'm a Texans fan, so I think that's an interesting conversation. But I think I get where he's coming from, right? I think most of those conversations come from the lack of mobility, whereas CJ Stroud is looked at as also he's an actual undercover athlete. Like he's fast enough to get around corners and do stuff, but he's just not a super speedster. But he likes to operate and maneuver and be creative in the pocket. With a lot of times with Shedeur Sanders, I think people liken his speed to not being able to do some of the things that he does in college at the NFL level. Now, I think that he can get smarter with it. I think he can do a better job with it. I think he can be more like his point. Like if Shedeur just makes all the right decisions and lets Jerry Jeudy go crazy and lets Njoku go crazy, Harold Fannin, Quinshon Judkins, like there's plenty. He talks about, hey, you need weapons. The Browns have always been and are going to go into this year's roster with a lot of talent. Right now, we're gonna have to see what Quinshon can do. We're gonna see what Fanning can do, see what Sampson can do. We're gonna have to see what some of these rookies can do. But theoretically, if he gets that nod to actually start, which is still a long shot, because you gotta beat Joe Flacco and Dylan Gabriel. And I want to stay on this point. Shout out to Joe Flacco. Obviously, you had the pictures of Joe Flacco and them. They're all taking pictures together. Nothing else has really came out from that. I was waiting for some more things to come out. But you hear it there. This insider was speaking to Joe Flacco, and he was talking about, look, arm talent is there. And if you know anything about January Joe Flacco can throw a goddamn hole. Like he's the king velocity, all right? And even he's kind of talking about like there's a deeper layer to that. That's Joe Flacco, a legendary quarterback. I'm not going to let y'all say that Joe Flacco isn't a legendary quarterback, right? Who's taken up for Shedeur, not in almost an indirect way, right? And explaining to him that, look, it's not just about hitting these high velocity throws all the time. It's not always about doing that, right? Some of y'all in my comments said, look, it's about having a catchable ball. Shedeur Sanders has consistently said, or the word around him is that he's consistently had a catchable ball. Now Joe Flacco, a real deal Super Bowl champion, someone who has done it at a high level, someone who's on the roster and you would assume is going to be mentoring him as well and kind of walking step by step, is corroborating that same thing. Hey man, you don't always have to have all the zip. And now this Browns insider is saying you need to have all these different flavors. The Cleveland Browns got flavors. They got plenty of talent to go around. And speaking of that, again, nothing new to us, but what else is crazy? We talked about his play. What about the media? Because obviously people wanted to, paint him in a certain way there.
So Zach was on our show yesterday talking about Shedeur Sanders. He said, for what it's worth, with no pads and no defense, he thought in terms of arm talent, he looked way beher than Dylan Gabriel. He said it wasn't even close. That video had over 70,000 views on our show because Shedeur Sanders is magic for media. The coverage of him is crazy. Have you ever seen anything like this?
I mean, I've seen it in Cleveland before, right? Cleveland's the capital of this sort of thing. You had Johnny Manziel there, you had Baker there, Deshaun coming over in the trade. I feel like this is actually the sort of situation that Cleveland's been in the middle of a lot, over the last 15 years. Now, if you're asking me, have I ever seen this with a 5th round pick before? The answer is no.
And it's gonna be a long time before you see it again. But yeah, like I said, he's good for ratings. He's good for money. He's good for everybody. And let's see. And speaking on that same thing, the man, the myth himself, Ian Rappaport on Pat McAfee show. What does he have to say about the Shedeur Sanders frenzy?
Cleveland. Yes. I expect it to be the center of OTAs. I expect it to be the center of training camp. Remember a couple, this really does, I don't know how it's going to turn out. And I hope better, because I really do think Shedeur could have an excellent future in the NFL. But it does remind me hype-wise of the Manziel years where, cameras were at Browns training camp every day. And, it's not quite like that because I think Shedeur and the Browns have tried to take the temperature down a bunch. And he, he's got kind of a deflecting way, at least in the interviews. Someone asked him, would you buy the number? He's like, buy the number 2. He's like, do you see my signing bonus? It's there's been some good sort of deflecting, but that's going to be the story. It's how does Shedeur look every time he enters a preseason game? How does it look? This is part of the reason why there are teams who could have used and upgraded a backup quarterback or could have sort of bought this lottery ticket and didn't because they don't want to deal with that. The Browns are going to deal with it, but if he's as good as some people think he could be, they're going to get the rewards and they're going to benefit for 10 years if he's the franchise starter. They hope he is.
And that's great to see and great to hear from. But I think, like I said, it's something that it's pretty obvious at this point. It's something that we can all see that what he means, right? But to the same point, I'm happy that he pointed that out. That hey, look, Shedeur is doing his best to also kind of put the fire out to the best of his ability. Right now, there's only so much that he can really do. Right, I think not only with his name, but with the Browns in general, with their reputation and things of that nature, right? There's only so far that he can extinguish things, but the fact that he is actively doing that as a rookie, as a fifth rounder, as someone who hasn't even put the pads on yet, I think is something that I'm happy that Ian Rappaport points out. I think that they're doing a decent job there, and like I said, they understand what's on their hands, right? This is going to be a complete wave. A lot of you people are checking in. I've gotten so many comments of like, it's the first time I've ever checked out rookie mini camp, you know what I'm saying, or specifically especially Browns rookie mini camp. Now, me, I'm a football degenerate, and like I said, I usually before this channel, I would watch some of my favorite college guys, see how they're doing, and you know what I'm saying, mini camp, see how they're making an impact. But I have to agree, I don't think I've ever seen any player, specifically not a fifth rounder, this hyped in rookie mini camp. Even like Caleb Williams last year, right? Like it's not even. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like, we see him throw, but we were really waiting until he puts the pads on. Before he even puts the pads on, people are already clamoring to see this. So now we talked about some positives, right? And it's going to keep dominating. And with the domination of the media, you're going to get lots of naysayers. Some of these are going to be negative. Some of them are just going to be criticism. Let's hop into it. This is from Cleveland Radio.
It's the new fans. What we call them, Shedeur soldiers?
Sanders soldiers.
Sanders soldiers. All in my mentions all day yesterday. And they were in my mentions because I had to take that, hey, look, Tony Grossi said he thought Dylan Gabriel was a little bit better. Y'all, chill out. You're making this combative when there's no need to be combative.
The fact that you're only here for Shedeur. Okay.
The Browns.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In their mind of logic, we're going to, and I'm pretty sure this same group of people complain about things that don't go their way in other realms of life. You're no different than that person that you're probably in opposition to by taking those type of takes, that type of thought. It's sad. If it doesn't fit your narrative, you are the enemy. No room for civil discourse.
And I ain't been called an Oreo in years, too. Yeah, so that's crazy work.
Oh wow. Okay. I guess it got a little it got a little too personal. Let's hit this one though. Here's another one that kind of is poking more at the game of Sanders. Obviously, they were talking about the Sanders clan or the Shedeur Sanders guys, but let's hear about more of the game critique. That was Oreo.
Which
Oreo's
quarterback,
crazy.
Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders, do you think will be on the Cleveland Browns longer?
You got to say Sanders. That's a tough one, though. That's a real tough question. If you look statistically at Sanders' career with his dad at Colorado, a vast majority of the majority of his yardage was picked up on safe screen passes, plus getting the ball into Hunter's hands. You get the ball into this guy's hands, and he can take it all the way. So that's a tough one, but I would say Sanders.
So in this one's interesting because it's more so, I would say, less of a harsh critique and more of a looking at it from a different perspective, right? And a lot of people have had that thing where it's only been screens, it's only been screens, it's only been screens. But then at the same time, they say that he plays hero ball. So it's like, at what point do we have to acknowledge that maybe the person calling the offense has something to do with that, right? And again, I know some people who judge these people, some of these people who are in media, they don't watch football, so they don't understand that, typically that's the offensive coordinator's job to allow for that toolbox, right? Like you're going to get mad at the quarterback for throwing the ball. It's the same thing. I get on Jackson Dart and about him. It's not that I don't like Jackson Dart. Actually, I really like Jackson Dart, and I've been following him since USC, but he's been in two offenses, right? One in USC that's more of a hyper, super fast paced, offense XYZ. But then you go to Ole Miss, which is a notorious, RPO, one read. You know what I'm saying? And that is on the offensive coordinator for instilling that type of offense. In the same vein that it's not Shedeur Sanders' fault that he didn't have any tight end motion. I mean, he didn't have a lot of tight end sets. He didn't have a lot of motion to help his receivers get open. You know what I'm saying? And the offensive coordinator, and I tell you all the time, go watch the in-season stuff. We reviewed almost every single Colorado video. Every single Colorado game. Like, don't hear me yap about it. Go back in time and hear me yap about it in real time. The play calling, I was very skeptical. Yeah, I guess very skeptical about the play calling and about the time management. Those were my probably least two favorite things about last year's Colorado team. Don't get me started on the Texas team. I got a long laundry list of bullshit about that team. But regardless, so I just think that at some point we have to acknowledge the full scope of everything, right? We can't just sit there and say, oh, okay, it is this. It's just he just throws all the balls there. Oh, he takes a bunch of sacks. It's like, well, why does he take a bunch of sacks? Because he had one of the worst offensive lines, right? Did he take a bunch of sacks in Jackson State? What? That's what I'm trying to get at this. Like, were 50% of his passes screens at Jackson State? Oh, so there was a difference there. He might have had, I don't know, a better offensive line. He might have been able to operate differently. He might have been able to play at the full extent of what he should be able to. So I think that's going to be interesting. I think there's some of these are good critiques. I think a lot of these are positives. And I think it's going to be undeniable that Shedeur Sanders is going to continue to dominate airwaves. It's great to hear some of the things that Joe Flacco has to say, kind of corroborating with what Shedeur Sanders has going on. But it's just it's going to be some exciting days, man. But y'all let me know down below. Comment down below right now how you feel about Shedeur Sanders. Who's going to get the start? How do you feel about the media? How do you feel about the media's reaction to him in the media, man? Like this video if you like it. Dislike if you don't like it. Subscribe if you enjoy football content of all shapes and sizes. Also, get in the comment section and send me what types of content you want to see, man. I'm open to freak it, remix it, get hot and fresh out the kitchen. Wait, don't. Never mind. Let's not do that, especially with that trial going on. Anyway, appreciate y'all so much. Keep being great. You know you're great. So keep doing that, man. We'll see you next time. Peace.